Mr. Speaker, I rise in support of the estimates of revenue and expenditure 2023-2024 presented by the Honorable Prime Minister and Parliamentary Representative for Castries East. My support for these estimates is primarily because I see clear evidence of good financial management on the part of the Prime Minister, who is responsible for finance and managing the country. Mr. Speaker, I will speak to the relevant sections as they relate to the Ministry of the Public Service, Home Affairs, Labor and Gender Affairs. Mr. Speaker, this is the first time I am completing a full budget cycle where I started and ended the full financial year. What a journey. In my deliberation, Mr. Speaker, I will present on some of the achievements of the Departments of the Public Service, Labor and Gender Affairs as part of this ministry is under one permanent secretary. And then I will speak to the Department of Home Affairs that is under another permanent secretary. And I will elaborate on what my ministry plans to undertake in the ensuing financial year. I want to, let me leave briefly, Mr. Speaker, to welcome in our midst Honorable Joachim Henry, who has recovered speedily.
You know better than to call members by name.
Oh, Honorable Member for Castries Southeast, who has recovered speedily, and I think the Lord has answered our prayers. Mr. Speaker, I want to thank my constituents in Babolo. I want to thank the Prime Minister for his confidence in me in assigning me a ministry to manage the affairs of the country. I want to thank the staff of the Ministry of the Public Service, Home Affairs, Labor and Gender Affairs for riding the journey along with me. Moi, je dis tout le monde bonsoir. Avec moi content, ça c'est la première fois que je accompli l'année pour me garder côté l'année a commencé et côté fini pour nous garder qui manière la travail pays a manager et qui manière premier ministre a manager l'argent exaffaire pays cette ici. Mr. Speaker, before I go into full details of my presentation, I want to touch briefly on comments that were made earlier by the member opposite. The seats are empty now, but I'll speak to the chairs. And the member spoke about milking the bull. And he made reference or ridiculed a previous member of this parliament. But Mr. Speaker, as a typical teacher, I normally ask my students to look at the jug and tell me what they see. Some will tell me it is almost 3/4 full or it is 1/4 empty. Well, Mr. Speaker, on July 26, 2021, I joined a team of men and women who decided to go down into that ocean to help pull St. Lucia out of that deep hole. I put on my diving suit and all of us plunged down. And today, Mr. Speaker, I'm very proud of the Honorable Prime Minister and Parliamentary Rep for Castries East, and my colleagues in the Cabinet of Ministers and those who are in Parliament too, who are not part of Cabinet, that we went out there to pull St. Lucia out of that deep hole. I heard a member opposite said how they planted some seeds, and we are harvesting some of these seeds. But one of the seeds that he did not speak to is what we are harvesting today. And when we look at the issue of crime in the country, I want him to tell me whether they planted that seed too. Mr. Speaker, he also said that there are certain things the government could have done, and had the government done that, we would have done even better. So it means we have done good. Mr. Speaker, he also asked questions about the passport and the K9 units, and since that is within my portfolio, I felt it is necessary that I respond to his concern. There are 5,165 passports that he said that were processed during the last financial year. And it is also projected for the next financial year. He has to realize that we are talking about an estimate, a projection. And you look at the rate of turnover. And therefore, a gentleman who knows about finances will know how to do what you call an estimate. And therefore, the projection is that we are going to have about the same number of passports being processed in the coming year. But for his information, I want him to know that at this moment as we speak, we have secured a new location for the immigration office to operate. And if he had read the estimates, he would have seen that the Honorable Prime Minister put an allocation of $200,000 for the new location for immigration. He also mentioned about the K9 units. And Mr. Speaker, we had discussion with some very powerful agencies that are willing to work with St. Lucia. And the issue of K9 units is one of the areas they are willing to assist us. So I need to let him know that. And he mentioned the issue of scanners. Mr. Speaker, we have brought in 3 new scanners to scan passports in the Passport Immigration Department. So there is no way the rate of processing passports will be at the rate that it was last year. It will be a lot more, it will be done expeditiously. Mr. Speaker, in my presentation, I will speak on what has happened in the Babono constituency, and I will also give you an indication of what we have in mind. Mr. Speaker, when I examined the 2023-2024 estimate, I looked at the overview, which clearly stated that the economy continues on its recovery trajectory as economic and social conditions improve since the relaxation of COVID-19 restrictions in 2022. Mr. Speaker, the report on the estimates highlighted some of the challenges which are impacting negatively on the economic viability of the country, like the war in Ukraine, increased global prices of oil, bottleneck logistics, transportation, and general increases in price of goods and services. Mr. Speaker, the estimates definitely reflect an increase in recurrent revenue and by 5.2% over the fiscal year 2022-23. Expenditure overturn, Mr. Speaker, for 2022-23 is estimated at $1.5 billion, compared to $1.8 billion approved expenditure estimates due to delays in project implementation. And this is something that we have spoken about time and time again, because we have inherited a system that is moving very slow. And sometimes our constituents, our citizens get frustrated and they blame the government for that. We see a primary surplus. It is estimated, is expected to amount to $29.6 million, in contrast to a primary deficit of $220.1 million, as was projected in the 2022-23 estimates. But what that says, Mr. Speaker, if we had a negative $220.1 million and we end up with a surplus of $29.6 million, it says in simple language, Eximadi akoyol pusetlisien kopwan, nous te apipe 220 ye a badlo. Et le premier ministre et gouvernement là, ouais decently si sorti 220 pieds à badlo, mené à l'eau et den mené monté 29 pieds en haut de l'eau. So it means, Mr. Speaker, we are ready to take flight. We are above water. Mr. Speaker, I turn quickly to the Department of the Public Service. And the public service, this department is the hub in the middle of the wheel. And if the department is not spinning, then the wheel will not move. The Department of the Public Service is there to lead change and manage human resources and information communication technology to deliver exceptional public service to customers. It has to give strategic direction, leadership in policy planning, management and administrative services, and human resource management to support national development goals. Mr. Speaker, when we look at the financial year, DigiGov and public service modernization had many achievements, some of which include provision for e-services in 31 areas, including application for birth certificates and death certificates. It has moved into transport, where we look at the license, issuing of license, permits, renewals of license and driver's license. And in 2020 to 2023, there was 125,992 transactions on that site. For example, drivers' theory tests recorded 20,790 driver's license. 17,124 birth certificates were processed. 10,321 renewal of driver's license. 43,000 driver's license were processed. From January to March this year, Mr. Speaker, users online has reached up to 16,993 users. Mr. Speaker, the Department of Public Service Modernization is in the process of establishing a further 32 stations for the GINet in terms of internet connection. And we have about 90 stations that have been established around the island. We are looking at the digitization where we will involve 5 government agencies. We have to strengthen our legislation to deal with digital information, because what is happening there is not part of our laws, and therefore we have to advance the law, change the law to bring it into line. And the agencies funding the project is waiting for government to address the legislation so that we can deal with legal areas, electronic transactions, transaction signatures, crime, evidence sharing, digital governance, and data protection. The following agencies will be benefiting from online services: the Department of the Public Service, Infrastructure, Police, and Tourism. Mr. Speaker, the Public Service also has the responsibility for the training division. And in training, they look at study leave with pay, study leave without pay, tuition refund, time off for personal studies, training leave, short-term overseas training, in-service training. Mr. Speaker, permit me to highlight some of the major activities that were achieved during the financial year 2022 to March 31st, 2023. Mr. Speaker, we had persons who applied for study leave with pay, and the government policy is one where it is not open for all persons who apply for study leave with pay to get it. But those who applied, it was not too many, the government approved, and that has to be approved by cabinet. And we had persons from the Department of Home Affairs, Public Service, Health and Wellness, Finance, Postal Service, and Forensic Science Service from Department of Justice. We also look at the issue of in-service training programs. And during the period under review, we were able to deliver 23 programs in 35 cohorts. A total of 934 public officers were selected. And we had 591 officers who attended the program, and 533 completed. Mr. Speaker, out of the 1,337 public officers who are available for selection of various training programs, 70% were selected for training and 63% attended. Out of the officers who attended, 94% completed the program. So the government is actually making the effort to ensure that our public officers have access to training. Mr. Speaker, we have the Facilities Management Unit. And when we talk of public service, the public service is responsible for care and maintenance of all government facilities. And therefore, there are capital projects in the land registry, condenser, that's completed, which costs $156,000. Fire metal exit stairs in the Graham Louisy building, that cost $300,000, and that's completed. We have to get a water pump for the building, 95% complete, and that costs $220,000. Electrical certification for the Graham Louisy Administrative Building, 65% complete, and that costs $460,000. Some of the other major projects in terms of electrical certification, Public Service Training Institute, 100% complete, and that costs $43,938.51. Maintenance and Survey Assistant Office, 100% complete. That costs $98,938.51. $618.85. Upgrading the Public Service Training Institute, 85% complete, and that cost $54,658.11. Repair to elevator at the Graham Lucy building. Now, it's over almost 2 years this other elevator is not functioning. And right now, we are in the process of facilitating and enabling and getting the equipment, and it will cost us $134,424 to get this other elevator functioning. And we are looking at public service storage container, which is 50% complete, and it will cost $83,652.80. There are some approved initiatives. Employee assistance program, we need additional office space, which will cost $100,033. Security system upgrade, $363,972. Purchase of fire safety equipment, $186,000. Purchase and installation of generator. The building is a 34-year-old building, and a lot of things in that building has gone bad, and therefore we have to put it back in place. And this building is owned by the government, and therefore we have to maintain it. It will cost us $230,000 to purchase and install the generator. And purchase of air conditioning units, which will improve the air quality, because now we hear a lot of complaint about mold and all kinds of issues. That will cost $175,600. So that takes care of facilities management. We have the employee assistance program. We know our public servants have a lot of challenges, and therefore government has allocated $100,033 for additional office space for them to operate. And over 700 persons have received therapy sessions. We have had 136 intake sessions and 156 individuals therapy sessions and 25 intakes. So some persons have challenges, and therefore they need that kind of support. And this is what the government is investing in to ensure that our employees get the right assistance. Mr. Speaker, I move quickly to the Department of Labor. Mr. Speaker, Head 49, page 399, the allocation is $816,800 was allocated for operating and capital expenditure for the financial year 2023-2024. And the Department of Labor has been experiencing many challenges. And during the period under review, there were several discussions undertaken with staff and management which highlighted the challenges. At present, there is a new Deputy Permanent Secretary and a new Labor Commissioner who are willing to undergo major reform to bring the Labor Department in line with regional and international standards. A new Labor Tribunal was established. However, they have to deal with a backlog of cases which had been there, and that is creating extreme challenges for the new Labor Tribunal, and therefore they need the support for them to clear. I understood, Mr. Speaker, that employers and workers whose cases had not been heard for how many years, they are so excited when they get a call for them to come and discuss their cases. The government has promised the people of St. Lucia that it will put them first and protect their rights, and we are left with very little choice but to deliver on our promises to them. Mr. Speaker, the government established a minimum wage commission according to the Labor Act. And I'm pleased to let you know, Mr. Speaker, that the Commission has already presented an initial report to me as Minister with responsibility for labor, and they are getting ready to finalize the report to present to the Prime Minister and Cabinet of Ministers shortly. The Employment Unit has been working very hard to continue to expand the overseas employment program because the request for St. Lucian citizens to work overseas is very high. The department is currently conducting a needs assessment to map out its plans to strengthen the Department of Labor to improve on the industrial climate in the country. The Ministry of Finance and the Prime Minister kept his promise and paid the LIAT workers and the Majestic workers, Mr. Speaker. Civil servants have benefited from the millions of dollars which the Prime Minister promised to pay and gave them back pay. Premier Ministre te promet ite kay payer ces gens liat là qui peut travailler le liat fermé ici avec ces gens Majestic là qui ni 18 l'année depuis fermé compagnie ça là qui pas jamais joindre des sous. Premier ministre trapé l'argent et qui paye ces moun ça là. Avec ces servants civils là, dernier gouvernement pas te payer ces moun là à l'air. Premier ministre a dit là il vini il kay paye. Et si men ça là montant l'argent qui descend dans les banques book yo tiki tik. Prime Minister Lajay. So people are happy that the Prime Minister and this government has kept to its promise. Mr. Speaker, the Labor Department has also reported that they are dealing with a lot of collective agreements. In fact, they have signed in excess of 60 collective agreements with the different trade unions. And they are in the process. We did not have a registrar of trade unions, and we are in the process of appointing a registrar for trade unions, because this is the person who has to ensure that the trade unions comply with the legislation. Mr. Speaker, we have actually seen an increase in the occupational safety and health unit because there was a shortage of personnel, and government has given them additional staff so that they can continue the work. Mr. Speaker, if I move quickly to gender affairs, the Department of Gender Affairs, Mr. Speaker, this is the first time in the history of the Department of Gender Affairs where they made a request to the Minister of Finance, and the director came in all in smiles, said this is the first time that they have seen the Minister of Finance given them all what they asked for. And that has vindicated me in that I said my government and my Prime Minister is gender sensitive. They are concerned about both men and women. Gender is not about women, it's about men and women. They are concerned about equality between men and women. And that is why this government passed the domestic violence bill. Cabinet has also given the authority to establish gender focal points in every ministry. And right now, senior officers from 22 ministries, departments, and agencies serve on a gender focal point. And Mr. Speaker, this is very good language for St. Lucia at the local, regional, and international level. Governments out there, agencies out there will have great respect for a government that takes this type of steps. And we are on the right track. Mr. Speaker, at this point, the government has put an allocation for additional space for the gender department to operate, and they are creating a one-stop shock position for persons who have been affected by violence. They will be getting counseling immediately if they are in distress. And therefore, the Department of Gender Affairs will work with the other departments to mainstream gender in all sectors and government programs. And that is where you open your eyes and you look at what government is doing. And if you notice, when I listen to the different ministries and funding coming to the government, every component has a gender part. And this is what will help us out in terms of getting the commitments from a number of agencies out there, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, we have a program, Blueprints for Gender Equality, funded by the Canadians and implemented by CUSO International. They are going to give us technical assistance in a number of areas where we can do capacity assessment and development. We have the program, what we call the Build Back Equal, which is a project that will cost about $2 million over a 4-year period, and they are giving us technical persons to help in the implementation of this project. And a number of ministries and different communities will benefit from that program. Mr. Speaker, since the passage of the Domestic Violence Act, number 11 of 2022, on International Women's Day 2022, a practitioner's guide for the implementation of the act was developed and has been used to train over 50 police officers and social workers, including 25 senior police officers. Mr. Speaker, we are well on our way in ensuring that we provide the support to our government agencies to work with non-governmental organizations to strengthen the issue of gender equality in our country. We have developed a layperson's guide for magistrates. That is being developed and it will be circulated this year, in the coming year. We are also looking at supporting, as we say, the one-stop center response to gender, so the new venue will have space to address these issues. Mr. Speaker, I move quickly now to the Department of Home Affairs. And Home Affairs, the budget for Home Affairs and National Security is one budget. And for those who are confused, the Prime Minister takes this decision on national security and he gives me to hold the post. So we have to decide where we put what. And Mr. Speaker, as you know, the Home Affairs Department is always a hot spot. Every single day there is something new in the Department of Home Affairs. And Home Affairs deals with the police, borderlay, fire service, marine unit, immigration, probation and parole, and now we are in the process of establishing the youth at risk unit. Head 36, Mr. Speaker, if you look at the allocation in the estimates for Home Affairs, people will say, wow, it's a lot of money, $129,250,400. But it cannot be a wow, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, because a small country like St. Lucia, with social challenges and limited finances, the resources that we have should go towards social programs to improve the quality of life for the people, not to invest in security, safety, and protection from each other. Why are we protecting ourselves from each other? Why do we have to secure ourselves from each other? That money should go into education, into health. But because there is a social breakdown lack of conflict resolution, lack of understanding, the breakdown in the family structure. Now we have to invest millions of dollars for our own safety and security. Secure from who? We don't have wild animals here. We don't have lions. We don't have tigers. So what are we protecting ourselves against? Human beings just like us. Mr. Speaker, on the Roman numeral item 36, you would have seen what is allocated for Home Affairs and National Security. I'm happy the Prime Minister has declared national security as a priority area this year, and therefore we have to ensure that our people are safe. The police service has allocated on page 137, code 043, head 36, $53,239,666. During the last financial year, the government invested heavily in a number of areas, some of which are repairs and AC units were installed to the tune of $2,818,987 in several police stations: Dennery Police Station, Labrie Police Station, Grosile, Richford, Soufre, Marchand, Miku, the Marine Unit, Babolo, Ancillary, the SSU North and SSU South. Government invested in providing the police with vehicles, $3,732,157.14, and other equipment, $915,845.53. They need this equipment to carry out their duties. We may not give the details of what the equipment are, but the police have gotten that. And Mr. Speaker, we have 69 vehicles in the police force that are over 10 years. 13 are between 6 to 10 years, and 65 are less than 5 years, of which 27 were purchased by this government. So we have a real mess on our hands, but we have started addressing it because the Prime Minister has made a commitment. He has already started investing in giving the police the tools and the equipment that they need for them to do the work. We are not backing down. We have to do what we have to do. A large number of correctional law enforcement officers and firefighters got opportunities for training. And Mr. Speaker, you would have heard the long story about training. In 2022, 98 police got training. In 2021, 68. We have 28 officers. On an average, we have 28 officers that get monthly training in the fire service. Many of them also got promotion. At Bodole, 107 officers were trained locally and 4 regionally. 12 officers got promotion and 3 were appointed. And government had to find $611,734.59 was spent to do that, Mr. Speaker. In the fire service, 405 officers were trained in 2022 and 19 in 2021. Probation and parole, Mr. Speaker, on page 37, code 047, an allocation of $2,166,767 was assigned to the probation and parole unit. This department needs attention so we can build its capacity to address many of the social challenges we face in the country. The department has done some work and are almost ready to launch the Youth at Risk unit, which will include representative from Bodole Correctional Facility, Youth Justice Services, Police, mental health substance use counselors, school resource probation officers, trained gang cessation social worker, human resource services, Department of Education and Health. The report is ready and the government will launch a youth at risk program or youth delinquency to deal with at-risk youth needing care and protection. That unit will be launched sometime in May this year. The Immigration and Marines Unit, Mr. Speaker, government invested in a new e-passport system amounting to about $4 million to be paid for over 3 years. Implemented a border management system to the tune of $2.5 million. Increased the training budget for the protective services. Visited all police stations. So far I have visited most of them except 2 police stations, 4 police stations and 2 fire stations. We have established and strengthened bilateral cooperation agreements in national security with Franco-St. Lucia Cooperation, Taiwan-St. Lucia, MOU, RSS, OAS, Canada, CARICOM program, etc., including the visit of a St. Lucian delegation headed by the Prime Minister to Martinique and visit by the French to St. Lucia. So we have been doing as much as we could in order to bring comfort to our people, and so far we need to put on record that we are seeing some results from the investment in the government and in the communities where we have hotspots. Mr. Speaker, let me turn quickly to the Babono constituency. And on the 26th of July, 2021, many people in St. Lucia got the biggest surprise of their life. And that was when the people in Babono decided that they wanted me to be their representative. And the day before election, the gentleman that I oppose was going around and using his hand and passing around his throat, saying that that would be the end of me. But the Babono people did not say that. And Mr. Speaker, I'm a very unassuming person, but it is very difficult to destroy a tree that has its roots way down in the ground. There are some people that come in and they offer their services and they say they want to represent people. But the people can see through you. They know if you are genuine and if you are not genuine. And sometimes you cannot buy people because you have money. And at this point, Mr. Speaker, I need to thank the people in all the communities in Babono. And we can start with Debara. We go down to Bogis, Lague, Monsito, Plateau, Paybush, Gara, Lakwa, Babono Central, Tishime, Foaso, Chassin, Talvan, Kakojiwa, Hill 20, Kabish, Balata, Timon, and Union Terrace. These are the 18 small communities, and we have development committees in all these communities. Mr. Speaker, as we speak now, I am proud to say that we have completed 22 of the CDP projects in Babono, and we have 55 of them ongoing now. Every single cent the Prime Minister gave me is on the ground in the pockets of the Babono people. 55. And that is the challenge. Some people who saw the last model where a few people told me they will be millionaires. They will be millionaires under this government. And I told them, I don't know when I will be a millionaire, and I don't take pride in being a millionaire, but I am busy creating millionaires. However, the projects that we have undertaken, Mr. Speaker, in the CDP project, we are building bus shelters, we are doing footpaths, We are building drains, putting grills, and every single community is going to get a project. It's massive, right? We have repaired three community centers, and the Babono Central, which is supposed to be our capital for Babono, the people are very pleased. We have spent about $200,000 in that location, Mr. Yes, and yes, and they are the people are seeing the change and they are feeling it. Mr. Speaker, I want to say, so far we have been seeing results coming from the potholing unit at long last. Minister of Infrastructure is responding, and the people are very pleased. Babono is big. We have not completed. There is some work to be done still, but so far they are getting a relief. The ministry has undertaken a number of desilting work in the area. Mr. Speaker, we have an ongoing project in Debara, which is funded by the European Union in collaboration with OECS and WASCO, and that will give the people purified water. They're getting a purified water treatment to the tune of $1 million, Mr. Speaker. The Ministry of Education, this is the first time in history that on the day of the reopening of school, Mr. Speaker, I visited all the schools in Babono. We have only 1 secondary school and 6 primary school. And all the principals told me was they were very happy that the Ministry of Education had attended to the problems. And they said, convey that to the government, convey that to the Minister of Education, that they had attended to schools open and they had no problem. There was no toilet problem or this, that. All the schools were in motion. Okay? Mr. Speaker, there are 2 schools in Babono that have gotten the smart school, smart classroom. That is Babono Primary and Babono Secondary. That is done in collaboration with Taiwan and Sir Arthur Lewis Community College. And the Babono Secondary School got their share of laptops, which was presented by this government. And when I visited the school, there were hundreds of parents there to receive their laptops. Yes, Mr. Speaker. I have given financial contribution from whatever the Prime Minister gave me to all the primary and secondary schools and then the early childhood center. So, Mr. Speaker, head number 51, 025, major repairs. I saw in the estimates that Debara will be getting some attention and the Foaso daycare facility. But Mr. Speaker, we also have a challenge with the Balata Primary School, and the school has a lot of termite. The galvanized is rotten and the teachers are complaining, and this is one of the best performing primary schools in the Babono constituency. So we have to find a way to give them some relief, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, Ministry of Youth and Sports, I am very pleased that the Ministry of Youth and Sports so far have maintained the 4 major playing fields in Babono in terms of keeping it clean. We have some resurfacing to do. We look forward to see how we can get that done. And I am also using some of the CDP funds to help repair 2 toilets, one in the Lager playing field and the other one in the Foaso playing field. Mr. Speaker, I have started the Parliamentary Rep Cricket Tournament, and it will wrap up later next month, and we are going to start the football tournament. And for us all, you have new generation. This is one of the strong football teams in Babono. That for us all is the hub for football. When I was principal there, I actually promoted football. And at this point, I just want to express my condolences to the late Mr. Walter Sukwa. He was one of the main coach for footballers in the Babono area and for us all. Mr. Speaker.
Member for Babono, you have 10 minutes left.
Yes, I will finish, Mr. Speaker. And if I need more minutes, you'll give me, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, when we look at social and cultural activities, For the last 16 years, we never had Babono Day, and we were able to bring Babono Day back last year. But it came with a cost, Mr. Speaker. It cost us about $45,000 to put that event together. But we were able to pull it through.
What?
Right? We are still waiting for a little support from my ministry, my parent ministry of creative industries. Yeah, we are going to establish a Babono Foundation. Mr. Speaker, in Babono, whatever the Prime Minister gives me, I bring it to the people. We were able to help 20 people get connection to water and electricity, those who are on crown lines. We were able to give school assistance to over 570 persons, Christmas toys to over 600 children, young farmers, assistance. There is a young man who told me he wants to go and do his university degree, and he has a little rabbit, he's developing his rabbit business. So I gave him some assistance, and his rabbits are multiplying. So he makes enough money for him to go and study university, Mr. Speaker. And we have the kitchen garden. The kitchen garden competition is starting, and we have a gentleman, I think I saw the Prime Minister gave him an envelope. He's one of those that might get a contribution from the youth economy. So he is actually spearheading the kitchen garden competition. And those of you who live in Babono, you are free to participate. Registration fee is $150, and the first prize is $1,000 for the best kitchen garden. We have second prize $750 and third prize $450. And the biggest is lettuce they are going to grow. The biggest head lettuce will get a prize of $150.
Very good, very good.
Mr. Speaker, we have had 99 homes connected from the Flow program for needy homes out of the 270 that the Prime Minister think we should get in Babono. And Babono ni pusa bagay kafet like you can wear you. I visited all the schools and give them some financial support. I have found short-term and long-term employment for over 100 persons in Babono, and we have distributed hampers, vouchers, pampers, and give medical educational assistance. We help in burial, we help in sporting equipment. And Mr. Speaker, in the STEP program, we have had about over 1,000 people who have benefited from this program. Mr. Speaker, on March 6, 2023, we will have jazz at the Sky Ride in Babono, and our main band will be Midnight Groovers. So they will be in Babono. And we have gotten the blessing from the Minister of Tourism and Creative Industries. So we want all of you to be here, and we are actually bringing back Carnival Queen Show and Carnival Jump Up in Babono this year. The kitchen garden competition is on its way, and for this year we had our second Plebel Village Community for Independence. So we have to call all the communities that participated together so that we can give them the prizes. First prize is $1,000, second prize $750, and third prize $450. And they decorated Babono very beautiful for the 44th Independence Anniversary. Mr. Speaker, the Babono people are asking when are they going into the smart school that costs $7.something million. Mr. Minister of Education, we have to go in. The children in Lage have been in that school. It was supposed to be for 20 years, but now they have been in it from 1970. And it is almost overdue. And that school started after I put out the video, because apparently they should have started. And when the campaign started, I went to the school and I asked them whether they wanted the school started. They told me that never happened because every time they say they'll never start. And the following week I put out the video because I taught in that school for 8 years. And I showed them where the remnants of the old school was. And they told me the same night my opponent called the contractor to come and sign the contract. That's how the school started, Mr. Speaker. Okay, the Lager, the Lager and Health Center, Minister of Health, we need a pharmacy there, and we are in the process of creating the center of Babono, which will be like a little town, and we need to refurbish the Babono Multipurpose Center, which was established in 1987. The roof, the flooring, and so on, we need help to make sure we will repurpose it and make it the Babono Multipurpose and Administrative Center. So we are bringing government services to that building. Okay, you'll help me? Okay, Minister of Infrastructure will help me out there. Yes, we'll do the passport. And we have the gentleman overseas that asked about the passport. The Department of Home Affairs has ordered the equipment costing $25,000, and we'll have the mobile passport unit, which will service Vieux-Fort and Soufrière. So we are on our way, right? And one of the challenges we have, Mr. Speaker, is to get the ring road.
Member for Babono, you have 5 minutes left.
5 minutes, I'm doing well, Mr. Speaker. Ring road from Gara to Bogis, so that we can have the connection between one part of Babono to the other. Mr. Speaker, we are looking for rehabilitation of the playing fields, the courts, and building toilets in some of the areas, and I heard my Minister of Sports said he will give some attention to Debara. I am pleased to announce that the Minister of Education will be establishing a pre-K classroom at the Babono Primary School. So that will be done. Minister of Education, you are out when I was giving you all your... Okay, my people send good news and they tell you continue the good work. After this session, Mr. Speaker, whereas I'm limited with time, after every government debate, I usually have a parliament session in Babono at the same multipurpose center. There I go and present exactly what I present in this house to the people in Babono. I give them a report of what I have done. Ezekiel is my opposition. And they ask me questions and I declare what the plans are. But I will wait when budget is finished. I do the same, and we have our parliament and we discuss that. Mr. Speaker, I think I have had the most town halls and community meetings in my life. And everything I do in Babono, it does not come straight from my head. It comes from the people. So I discuss with them, and they come up with what programs and what projects they want. And with that, Mr. Speaker, I'm very confident that when I engage in an activity, that it reflects the needs of the people and the priority. Mr. Speaker, as you know, the ministry under my watch is a huge responsibility, as well as a large constituency to manage. What I need most is the resources to deliver quality representation to the people of St. Lucia and my constituency. With the estimates as presented by the Honorable Prime Minister, Mr. Speaker, I remain confident that the Honorable Prime Minister will pull together all his knowledge and skills in economics, and with the support and advice of his cabinet colleagues, as well as the financial gurus in his ministry, distribute the resources, though limited, to the best of his ability for the development and advancement of the people in St. Lucia. As he continues to put the people first, Mr. Speaker, I give my full support to the estimates of revenue and expenditure 2023 to 2024 as presented by the Honorable Prime Minister and Parliamentary Representative for Castries East. For those who see the glass half empty, we see it half full. So in the next budget, you will see the water overflowing. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.